Welcome back. We are talking gardening today. I'm going to show you what I have planned for my 2025 garden and how it compares to my 2024's garden. And then I'm going to show you how I actually plan my garden in PowerPoint because I use PowerPoint for literally everything, it seems. All of my thumbnails are in PowerPoint, all of my planning of pretty much anything that's a design around my house, I do in PowerPoint. So I'm going to show you that as well. So let's jump right in. What I have pulled up is my garden plan for 2025, and of course it'll change. It always changes, but this is what I'm thinking as of right now. And then this little one that I have on the side is what was my 2024's garden plan. I think I mostly did that, and so we're going to see what compares and how I decided to move things around. So let's start by looking at this bottom section right here. This is where I always put my tomatoes in the yard. It's right outside of my screen door to the left. And I think I'm going to cut back on tomatoes because I still have so many tomatoes in my freezer from last year. And so I'm going to just do less is the plan and then put the tomatillos in that area as well. And that area will be just the tomatoes and tomatillos without them seeping over into this section like it did last year. Last year they went all the way over to here. And last year our peppers didn't grow. And then this year, I think I want my beans to be as close to me as possible. Not that the extra 20 feet really makes a difference, but last year they were back here and they were just a little farther out. And I think if I have them like right off of my patio, because this area is still kind of patio-y, then I'll be more likely to just run out and grab them. So that's the hope. But I'm going to put them here regardless. I really like to switch where I put my crops every year anyways, so I feel like those produce the most and I have to give them the most attention, so it makes sense to put them closest to my house. The peas are going to be basically right in the same spot. I'm going to try to do a smaller area of peas, but I'm probably going to plant more of them. Same with the beans actually, because last year I didn't get as much germination as I hoped for, and so hopefully this year I will. And something different is this year I have carrots. Last year I did not plant carrots until really late and they didn't end up growing. That was the plan though, because I had so many carrots. I had carrots in the freezer, I have carrots canned. I have way too many carrots, but I think it's good now. I need to restock my freezer. I still have a ton of canned carrots, but we're growing carrots this year, so that's where I plan to put them. And then I'm hoping to get some good onions and corn and celery, but sometimes those don't grow very well for me. So this is kind of going to be my let's hope that we have a success bed. And so hopefully that'll work out. And something brand new that I'm going to try is putting, I think, potatoes in this bed. It shows strawberries and asparagus because those are already in the bed. Our neighbors have a garden that's like right here on the other side of the fence, and they have strawberries. So the strawberries have come through. So if strawberries grow, by all means, we can have strawberries, but I don't know if I'm really gonna have any success. This bed, for the last few years, I've kind of avoided putting a whole ton of things in there, and it's been underutilized. So I'm gonna try potatoes there, I think. I think that's the plan. Now for these beds back here, these are little pots that I have, and they haven't done well for me at all. I used to put pumpkins here, and actually, I did have one good year of pumpkin, but that was it. So I'm going to put the things that I don't like as much, but if they grew, that would be awesome. So that'll be cauliflower and cucumbers and peppers. I don't really like cucumbers at all. I might eat one, and cucumbers grow a ton, but I do like bringing those into work, and everyone gets a kick out of how many cucumbers and how big they are. We also have our flowers, of course, and the grapes, and then our fruit that doesn't really grow well. So if you have any tips for how to grow the fruit that doesn't grow well, the blueberries, the raspberries, and the blackberries, let me know. I'm in Colorado, and I'm just having no luck with raspberries. These ones, well, these ones are dead. These ones grew really well, but they haven't produced at all. And in my last house, I think it was I had a lot more shade in that house. I was getting a lot of raspberries, and so I'm not quite sure. These have been in the ground for 7 years. They're huge, they're great. I've tried everything I can think of, and they haven't produced a single raspberry. So I think it might be time to pull them out. Okay, now the big difference is going to be in this bottom section. This is my like cutesy garden area, and I'm still going to do like herbs and spinach over here, I think. But last year I moved some things around. I moved around where I usually put my zucchini, and it made it so much harder to get to it. And then it was overgrown, so I cut it back and then I killed it. I couldn't really access this back section. So here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking let's do the big, huge items there so I can kind of just have them all over the place and then I don't need to access them as often. So let's see. Hopefully we get some melons. I have two different kinds of melons there, cantaloupe and watermelon, as well as the pumpkin. And I'm just hoping. Some years I have great pumpkin success, but the last 2 or 3 I haven't. So hoping that if I move it over here, I'll have good success. And then this is where I like to have the zucchini. I moved it last year just because it's always in the same spot and I wanted to get different nutrients into the ground. But this one, I basically can access all 3 sides of it, and this is the only one that's harder to access. So it's like got sidewalk here and here. So I like to put it where it's easy to access. And then there's the butternut squash, which you guys, did you see the butternut squash gnocchi like chicken sausage thing that I made with those butternut squash from last year? It was so good, and I'm kind of upset that I'm out of it, but not upset enough to go buy a butternut squash from the store. Do you do this? Do you like refuse to buy certain things from the store that you can grow on your own because it's like not the right season for it? That's how I am. I will not buy a pumpkin to make a pumpkin pie, but I will make a pumpkin pie if I have a pumpkin from my yard. And then, like, let's see. And then I've never bought tomatillos before, only use them from the garden. What else? I typically don't buy carrots unless I need fresh carrots in the winter. I still have a few carrots in my freezer that I need to go through. And then, oh, zucchini. Yeah, I've never bought zucchini from the store before, ever. So it's like if we don't have zucchini from the garden, we don't have zucchini. And I always have a ton of zucchini, though. We have that zucchini pineapple canned up, and we have zucchini in the freezer for days. We have tons of it. So yeah, that is the plan. Let's delete last year out of here. The big things I want to change for this year are having less tomatoes, putting the items that take more time and more attention from me closer to the house so I'm more likely to give them more attention, and then moving everything big into the like little cutesy garden area. Okay, so for those of you who want to know how I do this in PowerPoint, what I have going on in each of these areas is a few things. So I planned out how big each of my beds are by measuring them. And then I have just like graph paper that I cut to the right size. And what I did was I just went on Google, found graph paper, and then I just cropped it. So once I cropped it, I put it right in place, and then I did draw an outline for each of the beds. And I did that for the long beds and the square beds. And then these individuals, like square foot gardening, I just used one. These are the pots that I have buried throughout the yard. So then for all of these crops, what I've done is gone to Google. Let me do that. And I'd search something like banana PNG transparent, and then I would copy it, which of course I'm not going to be growing bananas in Colorado, and then paste it on, and that's how I have bananas. Ooh, we're connected to 2 things. Okay, if I find one that has a white background, what I do is I go into picture format, and then I go to color, set transparent color, and I click on the white, and then we've got transparent. That's what I did, and I just threw everything down on here, and then I can move everything around how I want. Now, I do have this area here where I've thrown all the different crops that I've grown, so I can just come in and grab them. I have them sorted by herbs, fruits, cold weather crops, and warm weather crops. And then I also have this for my seed starting trays, which I don't think I'm going to start any trays inside this year. So this is the same thing. It's just the graph paper that I just grabbed from online, and then I put in there whatever I plan to start in each little grid area. And it works really well when I'm actually doing this. You could do this for any different size of starting containers that you had. If you just had 4, you could just crop this to only be the 4. And I find that this is such a nice way to just have a visual and not have to have words everywhere. Nothing wrong with writing things out, but sometimes it's just easier to glance at it and be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. I can see everything that's there without having to read it. Something else I've done is I've put canning information down so I know carrots and green beans can for the same amount of time. So those are 2 items that are very good to can together if you only have a small quantity of each. And then I have my whole list of when I start things actually over in Excel. So the screenshot that we saw there is from my list of how and when I can start things in my area. So what I've done is I've color coded them based on what they are. So I just made these cells super tiny and then I colored in for if I could start them indoors, if I could start them outdoors, when my last frost is, and then when I should be harvesting. So I did that for all of the different things that I've grown. And anytime I grow something new, I'll just add it right in here. And I do have them organized by approximately when I start them. Okay, there we have it. There is our garden plan for 2025. I'm interested to know if there's anything that I'm growing that you're growing or that you're growing that I'm not growing. What's your favorite thing to grow and what's your favorite thing to harvest? I think potatoes are probably my favorite thing to harvest because you never know what you're going to get. Um, but I'm excited for this year. I don't think I plan on starting any seeds indoors, though that could change. It's currently early April, and so we still have a little bit of time if I want to start something inside because we can still get quite a bit of snow before garden season here. But I'm excited for the year and I'm excited to see what you guys are planning on growing as well. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're new here and you haven't yet, please subscribe. I'd love to see you. If you're interested in seeing my garden tours from last year and the year before, I will leave them here and I will see you next time. Bye bye.